All right, everyone. Well, thanks for being here this morning. We're excited to talk about some spring safety. Um, this is the time of the year. It's the season where things are changing, right? The flowers are blooming, the trees are waking up, the bugs are out. We're all excited to get out of the office, get out of the cold, and get to where it's warmer. Um, but because of that, there are risks associated with the changing of the seasons. We're going to talk about some of those today. We see here at the Trust, we see a seasonal accident spike about this time of year as we start to get out and we start to do more outside. We hire on seasonal workers. We hire on people to do jobs that they haven't been doing all winter long. And so we're going to talk about what we need to do to be aware and so to prepare for each of these scenarios. So some of our goals that we want to talk about is how we can anticipate our seasonal risks, right? Let's get us ahead of the game a little bit with this presentation. So we can prepare now to avoid those accidents. So those are really our goals that we're looking for in our webinar today. So our seasonal risks, right? Our activities are going to change. We're going to do different things, right? All winter we've been doing certain activities, but now we're getting to the spring. We have to get out. We have to start maintaining grounds. We have to start breaking out equipment that we haven't been using a lot of. So our temperatures are going to change. And with the temperature change, we have a lot of different things that come along with that, right? We have spring runoff. We have seasonality here in Utah. It's just so crazy. We all know the old saying, right? If you don't like the weather here in Utah, just wait 5 minutes and it'll change. You know, that's especially true here in the springtime. Our day length, right? The days get longer. So, or maybe in the winter time when we're driving into work or to our job site, it's still dark outside. The sun hasn't peeked up over those mountains, but now the sun's coming up earlier. It's going to start to rise up, and we're going to have to deal with sun in our eyes when we're driving to and from our job sites. Sun is going to start to set later. And so where in the winter time, it's gotten darker earlier. Now with the days lengthening out, we have some things we have to be aware of. So the angle of the sun is changing. These are things we know already, but just some good reminders for us. The angle of the sun changes during the day in the springtime. It's moving, mostly it's in the south. Now it's going to move for us. And so like we're saying, maybe when we're driving into work, we're going to see this like we see here on the in the picture, sun directly in your face, right? Just because of how the sun is rising and how the seasons are changing and the days getting longer. So things we want to be able to do. Now's a great time of year to do an annual check for your cars. Check your wipers, check your washer fluid, make sure that you have good wipers. I mean, during the winter time, those things take a beating with all the salt that's thrown on our roads from the snowfall. We use our windshield washer fluid a lot by getting all that grime and stuff off of there. So check your wipers, make sure they're still sharp and they're still ready to go and can wipe away all the nasty bugs that are now going to come out and replace all that salt. Make sure you have a clean windshield. This doesn't just mean the outside of the windshield. This also means the inside of your windshield. During the winter time, we're cranking up that heater. We want to be warm in our cars. And what does that do a lot of the time? It puts a lot of nastiness and stuff onto the inside of your windshield. If you've ever, been driving right into the sun, you might have that film on the inside of your windshield that you can see. What I would challenge you to do today, an action that you can do, just go out to your car, to your truck, to whatever you're going to use to be commuting around, and take some Windex, some window cleaner, and wipe that up. Go ahead and wipe up that, wipe on the inside of that windshield, clean up all that grime and nastiness from the winter, get you a clean windshield on the inside as well as the outside. And just personally, wear some sunglasses, wear a good, nice pair of sunglasses when you're driving around to block out the sun so you can see the road better. But more importantly is to stop. If you ever come across a situation where you're using your flip down visors or your sunglasses and you still can't see, there's still way too much glare, the sun's right in your eyes, pull over on the side of the road and stop. It's not worth it. Wait a few minutes, let the sun get a little bit higher in the sky, let the angles change, so you can see better. Maybe think about taking a different route if you have to. If you're going east right towards the sun, the sun's right in your eyes, but you know in a little bit you're going to have to go north or south. Maybe take that north or south direction first. Let the sun get a little bit higher and then take your easterly direction to get to where you need to go. We also have to worry about water, right? Spring rainstorms here in Utah are a thing. We want them now. Like, we need the water, right? But we also have to be aware that those can cause us problems, especially when we're driving and especially as we're working. We have to be aware of these things pop up all the time. Here in Utah, we get a lot of pop-up thunderstorms this time of year, just because we have the hot and the cold air, they mix together, they create thunderstorms. And so we have to be aware that these are things that are going to happen to us this time of year. Also, we worry about our storm runoff and our snow melt. During this time of year, we have the snow melting off our mountains, and it was great. I mean, we had a pretty good snow year this year, a lot better than last year. And we have areas of the state here that are up over 100% in their snowpack still. That's going to start to wear off as it gets warmer, and as that snow starts to melt. It's got to go somewhere. And those small creeks and streams that you have running through your cities and your communities that you're working next to, those are going to swell with this runoff. So make sure that you're aware of where those streams are and the potential for potential flash floods, potential snow runoff coming off there that could mix with that torrential downpour that comes. Then you have the rainstorm and the snow melt all flowing down that stream. And that's not a stream anymore, my friends. That's a big old river that we have to worry about. So be aware of that and think where we're at with our different water systems. Piping and valves, look at damage to those and your sprinkler systems. There could be damage from the winter time. Maybe they weren't blown out correctly. Maybe there was still some water in the lines and they froze. This happened to me at my house, unfortunately, this year. So I had shut everything off in the winter time, right before the spring freeze, shut everything off. But in my house, our water valve shut off for our sprinkler system is underneath our stairs. So I shut that down, drained the system, everything was good. About a month ago, when it was still cold and it was still freezing outside, one of my kids, I think it was my 10-year-old, he won't fess up to it, but I think it was him, crawled under the stairs, decided, let's turn that valve on and see what that does. Pumped water back into the system, froze overnight, blew out a couple of my sprinkler heads. We wake up one morning, there is water shooting out everywhere, all over our yard, ice rink. And that can happen. Something like that could have happened. You could have some blowout. You won't know it until you actually go to turn on your sprinklers for the very first time. So be aware of that and take some precautions when you're going to turn on those sprinklers for the first time. Springtime is a great time to think, are we ready? Are we ready for this year? It's a great time for an annual check of our smoke alarms. Are the batteries working? Are they functional? Do they run in tandem with each other? Our carbon monoxide detectors, are those batteries good? Are they functional? Do the filters need to be cleaned on those or replaced? Now is a really, really good time in the spring to run those annual checks on your smoke alarms and your carbon monoxide detectors. Also, according to OSHA, right? Emergency action plans and fire protection plans, those have to be put in place when? They have to be put in place at an employee's first hire or whenever there's a job change. But also an absolute best practice, they should be reviewed annually. The springtime, again, is a great time to renew and review our EAPs and our fire protection plans to see, have we changed anything? Have we added any equipment? Have we added staff members? Have we moved buildings? Have we done something different that could potentially mess up our emergency action plan that we already had in the past? So look at that. Take a look at your EAPs and your FPPs. Do they need to be changed? Run through scenarios with your team. Make sure that you are aware of everything that you should do in case of an emergency. Also, it's a great time to look into first aid training as we're coming out of the winter into the spring, into our busiest time of year in the spring and summertime when the public is using our facilities. We want to be sure that if there's an emergency, we can respond not only to our internal workers, not only to my friend or my coworker, but also potentially to the member of the public, if they were to get hurt or injured. So maybe think about some first aid training. It would be a great thing to put on your list. Okay. So equipment safety. Want to look at our maintenance, make sure our maintenance was completed on our safety equipment. Our lawnmowers, our weed whackers, leaf blowers, tree hedgers and trimmers, those things we don't use all year long. They're a seasonal tool. But is our maintenance up to date? Have we done that preventative maintenance when we stored it over the winter time, so that we don't have old gas in there that's going to gum up our carburetors so that equipment won't start? Are there any adjustments we need to make? Had we talked about that at the end of the year, saying, oh, I've got to adjust something. I've got to make sure that this is ready to go for the next year. Did we do that? If not, let's make a plan now to get ahead of that and make sure that our equipment is ready to go and ready to use when we need it. This last winter, we had a huge snowfall here in Centerville, about 14 inches. And all the previous year, we didn't get nearly that much snow. I have a snowblower at my house, brand new snowblower. I'd filled it up with gas, brand new gas, put some stabilizer in it before I stowed it for the winter time, before I stowed it for the summertime, excuse me. This huge snowstorm comes out. My wife's got to be somewhere at super early in the morning. I've got to get in here to the truss to get to work, and 14 inches of snow outside. Okay, go outside, start up my snowblower. Bugger won't start. I can't get it to crank over. I can't get it to crank over with the pull. I can't get it to crank over pushing the little electric start button. Something had happened where that stabilizer didn't work, or something gummed up my carburetor. And I now had 20 minutes or 30 minutes to get 14 inches of snow shoveled up my driveway so we could get to where we needed to go on time. We weren't ready and prepared, and we want to get ahead of that now. So this was a great lesson for me to make sure that your equipment is ready and ready to be used before it needs to be used. So springtime is a great time to look at your equipment safety and make sure that everything is ready. Do you have any guards that are missing on your equipment? Like you see here, there's missing guards right here on this lawnmower, right? That could cause a huge issue. Your safety features on your equipment. Is everything safe? Have anything needs to be replaced? Are all the equipment in a good and functional order to keep you and your workers safe? Make sure you take a look at those things. Did you purchase any new pieces of equipment? And do you know how to use that equipment safely? Are there any trainings that be needed? Maybe you had some extra budget money at the end of the year, so your boss or you purchased some kind of equipment that they thought, this would be cool, this would be great for us. We've been looking at this for a while now. And at the end of the year, had some money, purchased that piece of equipment. It's been sitting out in your shed since you purchased it. Now you're ready to open that box, break that piece of equipment in. But do you know how to use it? Do your seasonals that you're hiring on, or your part-time workers, do they know how to use that equipment? What kind of training is in place? What kind of plan do you have? Now is a great time to look at those plans and think about equipment safety and what do we need to do in order to make sure that all of our employees are using the equipment safely. Weed whackers. Let's think about this for a second, right? Weed whack, it's getting warmer. What do we want to do when it gets warmer? We want to shed the layers, right? We've been in jeans and pants and steel-toed shoes and boots all winter long. What do I want to do when it gets warmer? I want to put my shorts on, put my flip-flops on, and get outside because it's nice out there. And when we work with a thing like a weed whacker, that's not necessarily a good thing, right? We want to make sure we've got that guard on our weed whacker. A lot of times we've seen those removed. Want to make sure that that guard on your weed whacker is there, so it's ready to go, so we don't end up in a situation where we're chopping up our arms and our legs. Make sure that you have that ready and available, and it's put on that weed whacker right, that you're wearing long pants, that you're wearing your shoes, especially when you're out doing those weed whacking things that you're going to be doing here to cut down all those tall grasses that have grown up over the winter time. Okay, power tools. Take a look at your power tools and the condition they're in. How did you store those Did you just throw them haphazardly on a shelf, or were they stored in a good container or a good area where they weren't going to oxidize and rust? You see on this grinder wheel, you have some oxidation and rust coming out of that grinder wheel. That thing's not going to work like it would be intended. Also, when do you notice that's not on that thing that we should have on there? Yeah, guard, right? We need a guard on that. So now's a great time to go and make sure that we got that guard on that piece of equipment. That grinder wheel is in good, pristine condition, ready to do its job. Because as a lot of you know, having an ineffective tool is very, very detrimental. It's better that you didn't have that tool and used it at all. You want a good functioning tool. So look at maybe some repairs that you might have to make. Look at the guards, and now take into account your storage. We stored that incorrectly. It wasn't done right. Now we've got to incur some costs. So take some care in how we're storing our equipment so we can protect the assets that our cities are giving us and entrusting us with. Okay, let's look at personal protective equipment. Great time to look at your PPE, because are you in the practice of wearing your PPE, your safety goggles, your gloves, long pants, closed-toed shoes? Are you in the practice of wearing all those things? Because in the wintertime, we weren't outside using those things, but now we're coming out, we're getting back into the flow of things. Got to be comfortable in getting in the practice of having your PPE. And is it available? Is it in good repair? Has it been sitting in a shed or in a box somewhere? And when you go to put a pair of gloves on, they just disintegrate and fall apart. Do you have enough of it available? You're going to hire on a bunch of seasonal workers or part-time workers or additional full-time positions. Do you have the appropriate PPE for these workers? Or do you need to go out and purchase some more? Do you need to make that a priority to make sure that you're covered under what you have to do with OSHA and provide PPE for all of our employees? So take a look at that. Take a look at your stocks and your storage of your PPE. Make sure that it's ready and available for use. Springtime, fantastic time to do all of these things. We've all heard spring cleaning, right? This is all what that is. Spring cleaning, those annual times to make sure that everything is ready for us to use. Weather surfaces. So these are things that happen here in Utah all the time, right? We have constant freeze thaw, freeze thaw, freeze thaw because of the temperature changes. And like last week, 80 degrees, beautiful. This week, about 60 degrees. Next week, it's supposed to snow again. It's crazy, the swings that we go through in this state. And because of that, our surfaces take a beating. And if you can see it, repair it. Things like potholes, cracking, sidewalks, the settling of the roadways and the sidewalks. It's a real thing, and it happens constantly here in Utah. It's a constant battle. So a great recommendation is to go around and just take a look at your different surfaces. Get an idea of the projects that we've got to get done and make sure that we're taking care of these weathered surfaces. We've had claims come in with sidewalks that are cracking and have huge elevation changes because of the settling in there. A lot of that has to do with water getting underneath there in the wintertime, melting off, causing damage. So we want to make sure that we get ahead of those so we can avoid having unsafe conditions and surfaces. Same thing with our signage and labels. These are things, if you can you see the label still? Was it worn off? Do we have a park or a playground that we had a label on that said rules or regulations or safety information? And now, because of the beating it took in the wintertime, that's kind of rubbed off and you can't see that anymore. Or do we have signs that have fallen over, things that are bent or broken? Had a snowplow run into a stop sign? Are there repairs that need to be made? Look at that. Make sure that we have a plan in place so that we can take care of all these little projects and things so that we can be safe as we're moving in to our busy time of year, especially with our parks and playgrounds, right? This is when the moms and the dads, grandmas and grandpas, they want to get their kids out of the house. They've been cooped inside with them all winter long, and they want those little rascals out of here. And, this is especially true for me and my family. This next week, we're going down to beautiful St. George on vacation. And my wife made the statement that said, if my kids are up at 7:30 in the morning, we're taking them to a park. So they're coming. and they're coming in huge numbers. And we want to make sure that our parks and playgrounds are covered and taken care of. So go out and do those inspections. If you haven't been out yet to your parks and your playgrounds, that would be a great thing to put on your radar for today and this week. Get out, inspect your playgrounds, look for any damage or missing components and any unsafe conditions. Do you need any kind of materials? Do you have backups in case a swing breaks, in case an I hook or in case an S hook is bent and broken? Do you have things in place to keep those parks running? So when the public comes in, we don't put any of our kids in danger. And that's something that Jason and I are happy to help out with. If you'd like us to come out and do a parks inspection for you or walk through with you on some of these things, we're more than happy to come out and walk through what we look for as certified playground safety inspectors. We're happy to do that. Get in touch with us, shoot us an email, give us a phone call. We're happy to come out and help with anything that we can as it relates to keeping our parks and our playgrounds safe. Because the kids are coming. My kids will be there because I want them out of my house too. Weather conditions. Look at, our like we've said, our temperatures are constantly changing, right? Is today, let's look at it. Is it going to be sunny or snowy today? It's going to be nice and sunny here today. So we dress for success, right? Long pants, closed-toed shoes, but be prepared. Anything can happen. So we can absolutely recommend downloading some kind of weather application on your phone or other portable device that you may have. Something that has a good lightning detection system. So if you hear thunder, you see lightning, get out, get to a safe place. That's especially prevalent here in the springtime. April showers bring May flowers, right? They also bring pop-up thunderstorms and lightning. So please, consider downloading some kind of a weather app on your device that tracks lightning in real time. If you don't know a device, an app to use for that, and you have an aquatic center or a parks and recreation department, get in touch with those people. They have great apps and they have all that knowledge that they could for sure share with you and let you know, hey, is there going to be a thunderstorm here in the area or is something coming? So that's what we want to be aware of, is trying to avoid some of these risk factors, lightning and being climatized. It's different, right? It's been cold, it's been dry sometimes, but now we're getting back into something a little bit different. And these other things now start playing into the equation. Things like dehydration, sun exposure, and sunburn. They definitely start to play a factor in when we're coming now outside. So I just wanted to take just a couple minutes to talk about sun safety. Sun safety is very, very important. I mean, it's something that we should all be aware of all year long, but now in the springtime, we want to be outside. It's so nice. We want to be out there. We've been inside all winter long. It's been cold. Now we just want to be outside where the weather's really nice. But got to remember, the sun is just as intense in April as it is in July. So the sun doesn't just sit back and say, oh, you know what? It's only April. I'm not going to put out as much radiation now. It puts out as much radiation in April as it does in July. And that's sometimes hard for us to believe and to think about, right? Because in July, it's hot. And we know it's hot. And we know the sun's intense. In April, it's just nice. The sun is shining and the temperature is sometimes perfect. And we just want to be out there. But it's still just as intense. You still have those UVA, UVB rays that are going to try and cook you. And we have to make sure that we're taking breaks, that we're seeking shade, and we're drinking plenty of water as much as we need to in April, as much as we do in July. It's just the way we need to work. I mean, look at me, look at this skin. I need to be aware of this. And sometimes I don't take those precautions in April because I just want to be outside. I don't put the sunscreen on and I end up a piece of bacon because I'm just not putting on the sunscreen in April like I should in July. So that's something for us all to be aware of. And it's just a great reminder that sun safety in April is a huge, huge thing. So make sure if you're working outside, you're taking breaks, you're finding the shade, and you're drinking plenty of water. For our other outdoor activities, we do a lot of physical stuff in the outdoors and in the springtime and in the summertime as we're preparing. And so that is a lot of physical activities that we may have not been doing all year, all winter long. We've sat behind a desk, we've sat in an office, we've maybe done a few things around the office and in different maintenance areas. Maybe we've done a little bit outside, but now we're really starting to crank it up. And stretching and being flexible, this is a big, big thing. Getting your body ready for those outdoor activities. So I would encourage you to employ some kind of a stretching program before you go out and start your day. You know, something as simple as toe touches or jumping jacks or butterfly stretches, arm stretches, shoulders, knees, backs. Those are things we want to protect and stretch out so we can be ready and our bodies can be prepared for the rigors we're about to put it through in this outdoor activities that they haven't been used to all summer long. Also, what comes out in the springtime? All the nasty insects that we all love. Things like poison ivy and ticks, mosquitoes, and rodents, right? Rodents, mice. Why do we mention that along in this same vein as poison ivy, ticks, and mosquitoes? I mean, poison ivy and ticks, yeah, we're going to have those things in our tall grasses, our big areas now that we're going to be mowing. There could be a haven for those. Mosquitoes, those things are out. They're already here. They're already out and about. This last weekend, I was out with my family. We were out smoking some meat on the grill, on the smoker, and it was great. We were all outside. It was such a perfect day. And come back inside, and my little 4-year-old daughter has looks like 800 mosquito bites all over her legs. And we didn't protect her because we thought, oh, you know what? It's early. It's just barely April. Those mosquitoes, they aren't out yet. Oh, they're out. And they're hungry for blood, and they're coming for us. So make sure that we protect ourselves. So with our rodents, right? They get inside of our sheds. They seek warmness during the wintertime. If they can find a warm place, like in a shed or a storage area where they can bed down, they're going to do that. As you open your shed up from the wintertime and you're looking at your equipment, check the wiring. Check the equipment that was stored there over the winter. Make sure that those rodents hadn't gotten in there and chewed their way through a bunch of your equipment, because they'll do it. If they find something, they're going to chew through it. More importantly, you open up one of your shed doors and you notice there's mice droppings or droppings from other rodents all over, and you can see nests or whatever it is. Be aware that, you know, those are things that are really, really, really dangerous. The hantavirus is a thing. And we want to be aware of that we're taking proper precautions in cleaning that, wearing proper respiratory protection, wearing the proper PPE in order to clean and clear that out of there so that we can be safe. Also, some things to keep aware of: make sure you use insect repellent, a good insect repellent to keep those mosquitoes and ticks and bugs off of you as you're cleaning and clearing and making our facilities safe and ready for our public to come and use. Wear long sleeves and gloves. You know, it's sometimes hard to wear the long sleeves now that we want to be outside where it's warm, but wearing a thin long sleeve shirt, something like a rash guard or a thinner long sleeve t-shirt, great thing to have and to wear just to be sure that we're being safe as we're out working in this environment, so we don't get bit or stung like can happen during this time of year. So really, I mean, we want you to make sure you're just taking an active role in your safety. And by springing into it, know what you're getting yourself into. Like I said, this is a great time of year to really focus on your safety programs, focus on your EAPs and your fire protection plans, as well as focus on those proper preventative maintenance things that we can do in order to make sure that everything's ready to go. And make sure that you're staying committed. Stay committed to your safety program and the things that you know that you've been trained to do, and continue to build a safety culture. We know that you're doing a great job with this. I mean, you're all here, you're early, it's 9 o'clock on a Monday morning, you're here first thing, you're listening to us ramble on this webinar. You're doing it, you're here, you're on that path. Thank you for being a leader in your organization. Keep building that safety culture. Springtime is a great time to continue on that path. Anything that we can do for you in your organization to help build that safety culture, we're able and ready to do. Get in touch with us. Send us an email. Give us a phone call. We're happy to help in however we can, and to help in the springtime or anytime really to help build your safety culture. And with that, really, that's all that I have for you this morning. Jason, do we have any questions pop up?
Folks, just a reminder, let's if you've got a question or a comment, type that into the chat box and we'll get Mike to answer that right now. This is your opportunity to stump Mr. Stagg. So let's come up with those really good questions there. Good presentation, Mike. I think that's so important. We tend to kind of all of a sudden get excited about springtime and we run out and think we can do things just the same way we did last year when we were all acclimatized to the temperature and the sun and all of those things. Well, that can be harsh on us.
Yeah, and we were all a year younger at that time, right?
That's right. For sure. Well, I'm not seeing questions there. It looks like we went a little bit longer than we'd planned on that. I think we'll wrap it right there. Mike, final word?
That's it. Thanks everyone for being here. Just go out and have a safe day.